Hey guys, Art Decline here, Average Picker. So, with the last video being mentioning the giveaway, I started thinking, you know what? I've got something else I should probably give away, and I'll just give it away to everybody here. And this is an idea, and this is actually, I think, a decent one. This has been festering in my brain for about a year and a half now, and a lot of the little side work I do in and around lockpicking has been sort of moving in this direction and culminating towards this idea. But a whole various bit of reasons I won't go into. The chance of me actually doing it, or doing it in a timely fashion, I don't see happening. Like I said, it's been in my head for a year and a half. I've gotten as far as a few mock-ups, which I don't have anymore, but yeah, I'm not sure it's going to happen. And so what I'm thinking is, I'm just going to throw this out there to you guys. Hopefully this video will describe it adequately and you'll get an idea of what I'm thinking, and maybe one of you will take it on and do it. And I'll tell you what, if you do it, let me just put this out there. I'm interested, so maybe think about at least making two. I can cover your material costs or something. Maybe that can be the swap here. I don't know. But yeah, this is just something I would like to see. Let's get on with the idea. It has bugged me for a long time when trying to travel with lockpicking. There's not really a case. There's not a lockpicking toolbox. And what I've seen most people do is use ammo boxes or shoe boxes, maybe these kind of plastic boxes I have over here that latch together, and you get kind of all your stuff in there. But I wanted something a little more convenient, and I wanted a workstation. And that's because sometimes you set up it somewhere or whatever, and maybe you've just got a little dumpy space. I mean, you need a more solid kind of work area to do some of this stuff in. And that's my idea. So I'm going to show you the 3 pictures that inspired the idea, and then we will break it down and look at it in sections. And hopefully it'll be adequately explained. If it's not, or you've got a question about it, yeah, shoot me an email. My email's in the About section. It's also frequency13@gmail.com. And we can talk about this a little more, because I do have more details, perhaps, than I'm going to end up being able to put in this video. Okay, so those are the 3 pictures that kind of inspired this idea. And you can see what we're getting at here is a portable lockpicking workstation. So it can't be so big that, locks get heavy very quickly. So it's got to be sturdy, but it also needs to be readily portable. It can't, you don't want something too clunky or too tall or whatever, or it's getting too heavy to feasibly carry around. It doesn't have to be carried long distances, obviously. We're talking short distances, like you take it out to your car and then you take it to wherever, you drive it wherever you're going, you take it in there, you set up on a table and you can work or whatever. But it does need to be portable. So something like that machinist picture is probably a little too big. Let's look at a little more detail though. So pardon my less than straight lines, I drew this very quickly. The project basically breaks down into 4 sections. So you've got a top part here where the lid flips up, and we'll look at that in more detail. 2 drawers and a tray that slides out. I suspect, rough calculation wise, you'd be looking at something about 12 by 8.5 inches, or 10 3/4 by 13 or 14 inches. And then the height is going to kind of depend on the drawers, but I think for most locks that we end up carrying around, it's not going to be a huge issue. The drawers, I think you'd be looking at 1 1/4 to maybe 1 3/4, or the max 2 inches in depth. And so obviously that's going to end up controlling this ultimate height here. This top space can kind of vary. It's going to be used for carrying various, just those incidental tools that we tend to have, but also the head of a clamp. So, but that stuff lays fairly flat. I mean, we don't need a whole lot technically. A clamp is nice, maybe a pair of pliers, stick a screwdriver in there, a few other little maybe assorted odds and ends. And then these drawers would be for holding locks. And I don't think I don't know if you'd even have to go 2 inches. Most of the stuff we'd probably travel with, we're not getting into these really long mortise locks and things like that. But let's look at the top portion first. Okay, so this is a very crude setup. I literally just grabbed some stuff that was sitting around to simulate what I'm picturing the top of this thing to do. And this is the section that holds your miscellaneous tools as well as your picks. And so what I'm imagining happens is you flip the lid open like that, and you've got a thinner lid. Oops. You've got a thinner lid in here, which you can then lift up and will sit angled against the top lid. And this will be what holds your picks. So if you think about those pictures that inspired it, you can kind of see very quickly where I'm going with it. You would have this kind of thinner piece that flips up, rests against the lid, and has a row of pouches on it, sort of like the competition case or one of those punch cases, that roll up. It could be something like that would be kind of held across here, and that would hold all your picks. And then inside this portion would, be your little miscellaneous kind of tool things that you needed to get to. So that's the basic idea of the top. Drawers, I think, are self-explanatory. It's a drawer. It's going to open up. It's going to have locks inside it. So let's go look at the bottom tray part of what I'm thinking about. So this is what I was thinking on the tray, at least the basics of it. This would be a bit, probably wouldn't have to be too thick or anything, but it would slide out. The tricky part is how you're going to have this slide out and sit flat to the table. I do feel like that's kind of important. I don't know if it would need a little lip on its underside, if you could share maybe, I don't know, some of the bottom part of it and slide out flat that way. But this is basically the idea here. So here we'd have a hole cut to accommodate a clamp going in. Now, obviously, this is not going to clamp down as well, as an actual base for a clamp. But again, you're traveling around with it. It doesn't have to. It just has to hold well enough to hold the lock and have a stable spot for picking on. And you can do, I forget what they're called. You could probably put a ring on the underside of that, and it has a screw, and what you end up doing is you put something in and you screw the screw in, and that tension holds it in. You could probably do something like that, where on the underside of it, it's grooved out and has a screw in there so that you can get that in and get a little bit better grasp on the clamp, depending on what size, your peg is on it. Then it would have a small pinning tray cut into it. This wouldn't have to be too large. I think even just something, the size of one of these little Sparrow ones would probably do. And this part here, the reason it's diagrammed like that is to show this would have a little bit of shallow depth to it. It would just be a carved out area, just kind of an extra little area. I don't know, maybe you've got some pick cylinders and you just want to throw them down in there or something. Or, you could, as you're working with your picks, drop your picks and a couple tensioners in there just for while you're working. So, yeah, that's the idea for the tray. It doesn't need a whole lot more, I don't think, to it. Yeah. And hopefully that's kind of self-explanatory. So yeah, there you go. A portable lock-picking workstation. I don't think it's a bad idea. I would certainly buy one. I have looked online, not seen anything quite like it or that quite meets what I'm looking for, that I think is fairly comprehensive but fairly minimal and portable. So yeah, I think it's actually a pretty decent idea. It's probably a little past my woodworking skills at this moment. They're kind of lacking. I mean, I did build the cat condo thing, but that's just a lot of really basic cuts and a lot of nails and some staples to hold the upholstery on. But yeah, so I figured I would throw this idea out there. because a lot of you out there are very talented, and maybe one of you will go, hey, you know what, maybe that's not a terrible idea, and you'll build a couple of them and you'll send me one, right? But no, really, if you're interested, I'd be happy to work with you or communicate with you some on it, and flesh it out. I do have some more detailed thoughts about how to handle, at least easily handle, the joints and things like that. Though, frankly, I think if you're into woodworking, you probably already have some ideas on that. I've got some ideas too, because locks do get heavy, for maybe like doing a band carry strap that would go around it, because that could also serve to hold the drawers closed, as opposed to putting separate latches or locking mechanisms on every single drawer to keep it all from sliding out. You may be able to just put a carry strap kind of all the way around the thing. So yeah, I do have some few more details. I did mock this up a few times. Of course, in typical average picker fashion, I mocked it up in cardboard and electrical tape. And it seemed feasible, and I wish I still had one of those, but probably 6 months ago, they were just, like cardboard and electrical tape does, it just was getting too floppy to keep around. I kept kind of making changes and recutting, and the mock-ups were getting worse and worse and worse, and I just pitched them. And then I kind of dropped the idea for a little bit, but recently it started in my brain again. So yeah, there we go. I hope you've enjoyed that. Yeah, hit me up about it if you want to. We can go over some more details. Somewhere in a little book, I do have some more precise measurements. I left this one a little vague just because I did this video kind of based off the loose concept of what was in my head. So, yeah, there we go, guys. Have a good one.